Okay, this video is on section 8 of the notes and factoring packet. This is factoring the sum or difference of perfect cubes. So first of all, make sure you know how to put the cube root in your calculator to check if things are perfect cubes. So in your calculator, you're going to want to hit math 4. That gives you the cube root. So say I'm checking 8 to see is 8 a perfect cube? Yes, there's no decimal. Or again, math 4. If I want to know is 64 a perfect cube? Yes. It is. It is 4. If I check something like, math, let's see, math 4, 16. Nope, not a perfect cube. I have a decimal part. So what I'm looking for here is I'm going to have two terms. It's the sum or difference. So unlike the difference of squares, this one could be positive or negative because it does say sum or difference. So it might be plus, it might be minus. It's very precise on what your signs are going to be. If it is plus, you have plus, minus, plus. If it's minus, minus, plus, plus. So it's always going to be a binomial times a quadratic. So here, if I have plus, I can use this acronym SOAP to remember my signs. SOAP stands for same sign, opposite sign, always positive. So here I have same sign, because it was plus, opposite sign, always positive. Or here, for minus, SOAP, same sign, opposite sign, always positive. So let's take a look at number 1. First of all, if I wasn't sure if 216 was a perfect cube, I would do math 4. And then I have 6. So I know it's a perfect cube, and x cubed, of course, is a perfect cube. So I like to draw out my parentheses first and put my signs in. So I have minus, so same sign, opposite sign, always positive. So those are my signs. Now, the way to go from here is this binomial here is the cube root of each of these. So the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 216 we just found on the calculator is 6. That's these two. Now, the quadratic that goes here, that you can help remember by SMS, square multiply square. So I take this x and I square it, which gives me x squared. I multiply these two together, which gives me 6x, and I square this, which gives me 36. And this is one of the only times where you're not super concerned about signs as you're multiplying because you've already put them in, right? Same, opposite, always positive. So I already have my signs in. So I'm really just looking at this squared, these two multiplied, 6x, and that squared is 36. And that's my answer. You're not going to be able to factor that quadratic here, so this is your final answer. So let's look at another one. Let's look at number 6, for example. First of all, let's check and see, is that a perfect cube? So we do math 4, 125. Yep. And math 4, 216. They're both perfect cubes. We're good to go. So I'm going to draw in my parentheses, and I've got minus again. So same sign, opposite sign, always positive. Now, the cube root, when you have a coefficient with a variable, take the cube root of the number part, which we already said was 5, and then the cube root of the variable part, which is x. Cube root of 216 we said was 6. So again, these first two spots are just the cube root of each of these terms. Now I do SMS, square multiply square. 5x squared, again, number part times number part is 25. X times x is x squared. Multiply these two together, you get 30x, and 6 squared is 36. And there's my answer on that one. Let's try one more. Let's take a look at a positive one. Let's look at number 10. So when I look at 4, it is not a perfect cube. And if I wasn't sure about that, I would do math 4 and say, okay, nope, there's a decimal. Not a perfect cube. But what I always should be looking at before I even start is for a GCF. And I can see that both numbers are even, so they're both divisible by 2. But let's check and see, are they both divisible by 4? Yes, they are. So I'm going to take out a GCF of 4, which gives me x cubed plus 64. Now I have two perfect cubes. That's a perfect cube. Math 4, 64, that's a perfect cube as well. So when I do this with the GCF needs to go outside of those first set of parentheses. That is part of my answer. So don't forget to put the GCF down there. So again, I look at SOAP. Same sign, which this time is positive, opposite sign, always positive. So now the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 64 is 4. Now for these parts, SMS, square multiply square. This squared is x squared, multiplied is 4x, this squared is 16. And that is my final answer. So again, important things to remember here. SOAP, same sign, opposite sign, always positive. And then this is for my quadratic, SMS, square multiply square.